This is the first video in a series of 3 short videos that teach you how to activate and engage your deep core and your pelvic floor to support you in this postpartum period. 1, to support your organs, that there's been a lot of pressure down. 2, to support your pelvic girdle. Some ligaments are more loose in there. And then also just to act in that reactive, supportive way that we shouldn't have to think about this for the rest of our lives. But because we are postpartum and so much has changed so quickly over the last 10 months and then with birth, we really do need to retrain these muscles on how to contract and support us. The first stage in this, the first exercise I give postpartum folks is deep breathing. And it's not a Passover exercise. This is very important. And the reason why it's important is because our diaphragm and our pelvic floor are meant to stack over each other and move together. So as we inhale, you should feel expansion of your belly, expansion of your ribs, and then in different positions it will go over expansion of your pelvic floor. Why this is important is because before we strengthen any muscle, we have to lengthen it. So just like our biceps, if I'm going to do a bicep curl, I'm not just going to do it here. I want to fully lengthen before I contract. After giving birth, our pelvic floor is often overactive, maybe trying to support our uterus, our bladder, our colon, maybe trying to support our hips because of weak glutes and a core. And our core actually changes, our abdominal muscles change because our ribs expand so much during pregnancy. We need to utilize our breath to bring them back in, okay? So this is the foundation of core movement. So let's get started. First, we're just working on deep breathing, inhale, expanding, okay? So first we'll work on expanding the ribs. You can put your hands here on your ribs. You can also use a belt of a robe, a bungee, anything like that. Put it around your ribs and think about inhaling, filling your ribs up 360 degrees, expanding like an umbrella. Good. On exhale, we just let everything gently come back down. Good. Now I want you to focus on expanding ribs out, but also abdominals out. This is something that females especially don't tend to do very well. We want to suck in our upper abdominals, and this creates a lot of tension, pushes down like a tube of toothpaste. Instead, we want to expand, and then we'll go over in a couple more videos how to pull in that lower belly. First, let's just work on expansion. This can also be easier in a few different positions. So I like a bent over position. You can use a bar stool, a countertop. I'm just doing it on a foam roller here. But this also, hands and knees are all fours, but this can really let this upper abdominal expand. So inhale, fill up, and let it go. Inhale. Thinking about expanding those ribs, expanding the upper abdominals. Really letting everything go. We don't let everything go. And then can you do that in standing when gravity isn't helping you? The next stage is deeply breathing all the way down into your pelvic floor. So then we're expanding all parts of our core, our upper abdominals, our lower abdominals, and our pelvic floor, filling up with air to get that deep expansion. So it may be hard to feel in a standing up position. You can try all fours over that foam roller, bar stool, countertop, or you can also go into a deep sitting position. And you can feel if you're expanding the pelvic floor by putting a soft towel, maybe sitting on a soft surface, right on your perineum. So sitting here, I'm gonna work on that same expansion and visualize air moving all the way down into my pelvis, moving my sit bones out, rather than letting everything relax. You should feel more pressure on the perineum of that towel or soft surface if that's what you're using. But we're really working on expansion here. The other position that I like to work on pelvic floor expansion with deep breathing is a child's pose. So if you weren't able to feel it in that position, go ahead and get in a child's pose, and you should be able to feel it here. So when can you start working on this? You can start working on this directly after birth. We start every core connection module with deep breathing so that you can connect with that inhale expansion, since maybe throughout the day you may be holding tension. Some people do the exact opposite. They inhale and suck in. So we work on this at the beginning of every core connection to tap into that brain to muscle connection, to make it automatic so you don't have to think about it all the time. You may just have to think about it for a couple months postpartum. This is also perfect to do if you have any pelvic pain. You may want to focus on this expansion more with your hip opening. When you have that time in between rounds of exercises, really focus on that deep breathing. Also in the weekly mobility in between each week, really focus on that deep breathing and pelvic floor expansion as you're working on mobility. So deep breathing is step number 1 in re-engaging our core.